After sending thousands of Instagram DMs and closing over $4 million from my coaching business, I realized the key to making high ticket sales. And I'm not talking about spamming people with links or hoping they'll magically buy from you. I'm talking about a repeatable system that turns viewers into booked sales calls and those sales calls into clients who pay thousands of dollars. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact 5-step framework I use from the first message to the close. You'll see how to start conversations, the exact scripts, and the psychology behind every single line. Because here's the honest truth. If you're scared to sell with the DMs, you will never scale your business. By the end of this training, you'll have my exact DM to sale process that's generated millions for me and my students. This is the guide I wish I had when I first started, so let's get into it. Step 1 is the ask. Now, you're probably thinking, Julia, I'm not gonna just get in my DMs and message people to get on a call with me right away. You're absolutely right. First, you have to ask yourself, how am I even gonna get somebody into my Instagram DMs? A lot of people ask me whether it's on a sales call, it's in my clients, they say, Julia, well, are you sending cold DMs? Absolutely not. I do not recommend a cold DM strategy at all. What we are going to teach you is an inbound strategy. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're asking people to send you a DM. Now, there's a few ways we teach this. Number 1 is actually putting a DM keyword in your bio. So for example, you can say, DM me ready if you're ready to start your health journey, or DM me to start now. Right? So right away, when somebody lands on your page, you have that DM keyword. The second way is to put a call to action in all of your captions. If you are not doing this, I genuinely wonder why. This is free real estate that you get to post on social media for free every single day. You have to put a call to action. So when it comes to putting a call to action and actually using ManyChat, you just want to make sure that your calls to action are simple. If you have some crazy methodology and it's some really weird acronym, don't ask people to memorize that or understand it. Actually, the best calls to action are only 3 letters. I know this is hard, but let's look at Tony Robbins, right? He has an RPM method. RPM is very simple. People know his method. He could say comment RPM, and that's how you'll know. Now, if you're like me, I'm very tactical and very tangible. So if I'm gonna give you my 7-day profit plan, I'm like, just comment the number 7. That's a really easy thing and people to understand. Do not be putting random emojis. Don't be telling people to find some emoji that's on the 10th page that they've never used before. Keep it extremely simple and make it that anybody could comment this very easily. So step 2 is where I see people completely drop the ball, and I cannot believe that people are still doing this. And that is they immediately pitch. And here's why this is wrong. There is absolutely no trust built yet. And if you haven't yet watched my video on the Instagram strategy that's made me millions of dollars, you definitely want to check that out on my channel after this, because I show you that Instagram is just a top of funnel platform and it's not actually meant for you to be pitching people right away. So what you need to do is step 2, which is break the ice. So once somebody is actually in your DMs, that's where you want to build rapport and establish trust. Think about it, probably 70% of the time people think you're AI and they're wondering, is this ManyChat? Is this an AI agent? There's this huge thing with AI appointment setting right now. We don't do any of that. If we're sending a message with the bot, we make that very clear and very obvious versus a real human connection in the DMs. And it's crazy to me because I started using this strategy back in 2023 and people were baffled that I actually spend time in my DMs to connect and talk with leads. And I think that this is a really interesting piece because you know that people are not really doing this, so you're already unique by spending the time with people in your Instagram DMs. So there are a few ways you could break the ice. Step number 1 is the engagement opener. So you could say something like, hey name, I saw you commented on my post about X. I'm curious, is powerlifting something you've been struggling with? Now that would work excellent if you're a powerlifting coach, right? So you want to make sure it's niche specific and it's actually based on that. The second option you could use is the curiosity hook. So you could say something like, hey Susie, I noticed you grabbed my 7-day profit plan. Have you had a chance to check it out yet? I'm curious, what even made you interested in learning how to profit from your personal brand? See, that exactly ties to the freebie that I offer. Then number 3 is the authority opener. So you could say something like, hey Sally, I've been following your content for a bit and I love what you're doing with animals. Quick question, how long have you been a veterinarian for, and do you sell any sort of online courses? This would be a great opener for somebody like me who works with niched experts, like a veterinarian, but she's tired of going in the office. She loves helping dogs and animals, so maybe she creates an online course about how to help senior dogs in their last few years of life, and parents learn how to have more longevity for senior animals. So this is a great example of the 3 different types of openers you want to use. Now, if you want a written version of all the steps and the full framework, I actually created a 28-page DM to sale playbook where you can learn my exact step-by-step process that makes me over $1 million a year with the Instagram DMs. So make sure you check that out in the first link in the description and download a copy while you're following along with this video. So now we've already gone over step 1 and step 2, but what about step 3 when they actually start to reply? Right? When is the most natural time to pitch? When do you stop building rapport and not turn it into a free coaching session? These are things that I hear all the time from my clients and sales calls, and honestly, people commenting on my content or replying to my email course. So let's talk about a real conversation that I had with a lead that came into my inbox, and let's call her Sarah. So I put out an Instagram story and I said, hey, if you want to earn cash by Christmas, because I did this early on in December, and you want to scale to $15,000 to $20,000 in the next couple months per month, comment the word cash or reply the keyword cash. Now, I got a ton of people that opted in for that, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to book a call right away. So a mistake that I see people make is that because they commented the keyword, they think all of a sudden they want to pay you $5,000, which is not true. So if somebody's coming in with a way higher intent, like they're actually coming in for some sort of coaching and not just a freebie, then you want to make sure that the conversation you're having is what we call in the fast lane. So if somebody's just coming in for a freebie and you send them an outbound message on an inbound DM, for example, they came in for something free, but you want to build trust and rapport to actually sell them something later on, that person is in the slow lane. But if somebody's in the fast lane, that means they came in hot with a keyword like they're ready to book a call. That doesn't mean you just book them right away. And this is where so many people get it wrong. Because then what happens is you miss the financial qualifiers, and more importantly, you miss the interest qualifiers. I learned this lesson way too late in sales, but if somebody genuinely does not have the capacity or they're not emotionally ready to be in a coaching container or actually get help, do not sell to them. I cannot make that clear enough. You'll see online all the different sales tactics. How to objection handle, I need to talk to my partner. How to objection handle, I'm not ready yet. Now, there's some element of, okay, you do have to challenge people and push them to be better, but it gets to be too pushy when I hear things like people literally selling their car to make a $5,000 investment in a course. That is absolutely insane. And I think if they're not in a place where they're emotionally ready, don't book them onto a call. Just say, hey, this is great. Keep watching my free stuff, and I'm gonna send you a message in a couple months and check back in. So step 3 is about identifying their current situation. So first, you have to understand, where are they at? Now, this is pretty similar to what I teach when I teach my sales training and my sales script, like what you would actually say on a sales call. Because think about it, when you walk into a doctor's office, they first have to understand where you're currently at before they could properly diagnose you and actually give you a solution to your problem. So you want to get the real, tangible, and tactical stuff. So if you're in a weight loss niche, you want to know, how much do they weigh right now? What are their day-to-day eating habits? If you want to go even further, ask them, what do the last few days of eating look like for you? And it really allows people to reflect on where they're currently at, and it almost makes their pain feel a little bit deeper because they realize they're really struggling with this thing. Now, last piece I'll give you here is you gotta make sure you get very specific. If you do not have specifics, you're not going to be able to go in for the pitch or the close because you're not going to know what the hell's going on. It's going to be way too surface level and you have to go deeper. So some qualifying questions that I always ask are, what do you currently sell, or what's your offer? And then I ask to get to know a little bit better about their sales process. How do you typically sell, or what does your sales process look like? I'll just ask them explicitly. Because remember, I know my avatar through and through. If they're saying things like, I want passive income, or I want to sell low ticket digital products, I just bless them and move on, because that is not my avatar. And I think it's so important to understand who you're not for as much as you understand who you are for. Because I spent way too much time trying to be a yes for everybody, when if I just stood in my own lane a little bit stronger and a little bit better, I would have saved me and the other person way more time. You're not doing anybody a favor by trying to be a people pleaser and trying to make your offer suitable for everyone. So after they share their current situation, you're looking for 3 buying signals, and here they are. So signal number 1 is that they can't do this on their own, right? Maybe they're a mom and they're way too busy. They just don't have time during the day. Or signal number 2, they just want to collapse time, right? They're a busy professional, but they want to learn how they can build a business on the side so that they could eventually leave their full-time job. Or signal number 3, that they're ready for a proven system. So maybe they say something like, I need someone to show me actually what works, and I'm ready to find the right coach that's going to help me do that. So what that means is that they're actually actively exploring to solve this problem. Now, just because they're not looking to solve the problem, or they don't tell you they are, doesn't mean you disqualify them right away. What you need to figure out is one of 2 things. 1, are they financially qualified? And then 2, are they interest qualified? And you keep working to find out if they are before you book them onto a call, which then leads me to step 4, which is their desired situation. And you see, this is where most coaches stop, and this is where the conversation is just getting started. Everybody knows that message in sales, which is like, don't sell the plane, sell the vacation. That's exactly what you want to get to here. And most importantly, you want to actually take a second to be a human being and buy into their dreams with them. But more importantly, you got to ground them back into reality if they are being way too delulu, and that's actually their problem. So for example, you might want to take a second to actually get them to visualize their future self. I'll never remember when I first started my weight loss journey a couple years ago. I was on a webinar, and the woman that was hosting the webinar said one thing, and it still stuck to me to this day. Not only because I resonated with it personally, but also because it was a genius marketing and sales tactic. She said, okay, close your eyes right now and picture you're at the beach, and somebody takes out their camera and they say, guys, group together, let's take a photo. How would you feel standing in that photo this summer? And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I had that exact struggle where I felt so scared when somebody would take out a camera or say, hey, let's take a photo, and I was in a bikini and I wasn't happy with my body. So that was a real emotional driver of getting me into the desired situation of where I want to be. And then that follow-up question was, so where would you want to be this summer? Where would that feel for you? So you want to anchor it not only to an emotion and future pacing, but also a realistic timeline that makes sense for your business. So for example, a question that we were asking towards the end of last year, December, at the end of the year, was where do you want to be next December when you're writing your New Year's goals for the following year? And you can always anchor this into different seasons of the business and different seasons of life. So how does this actually look in practice? So maybe something I would ask is, so Sarah, where would you like to be in the next 6 months if you could wave a magic wand? Tell me revenue level, number of clients, and things like that. She'll respond with something like, oh, I want to be at 3 to 5 clients a month at $2,000. I mean, if I could make $8,000 to $10,000 a month, everything would change for me. So now this is great, but you don't just move on, you dig a little bit deeper. You say something like, that's amazing. And what would that change for you personally? Because now you have the true motivation. People are always going to tell you surface level things, and it's genuine and it's honest, but it's just the way that humans are wired. We're going to say we want more money. We're going to say we want to get X clients per month. We want number of followers. You want to get to the deeper reason why. So for example, it could be that somebody makes a ton of money, but they're extremely unhappy because they can't have children because the way the business is run, it's like either have kids, be a mom, or shut the business down. So you need to get into the real emotional drivers of why people want the things that they want. And this is where you ask the most important question before you get to step 5. And that most important question is this. So make sure you listen up, write this down, because this is going to be the gold of this video. That question is, what is holding you back from getting there on your own. And this is where they now self-admit that they have a problem. Because, there's all this fancy marketing language, and honestly, I didn't even study marketing in school. I studied finance and information technology. I mean, I guess finance is adjacent, but not even compared to anything about this. I had to learn these things the hard way. When you ask that one question, they're gonna give you one of three answers. One, they wanna do it faster. Two, they don't wanna do it on their own. They wanna follow a proven roadmap. Or three, they struggle with accountability and they need mentorship. So once again, they are telling you exactly why they can't get there. And better yet, what I always find, people know why they're not where they want to be. You need to remember that your ideal clients, your prospects, your leads, they are smart. They are not stupid people. So you have to realize that they have been struggling with this for so long, but now they actually bring it to the table and they say it to you. Once they say it to you, they feel the aha, and it's like this light switch goes off. That's where at this point in the conversation, you have now already interest qualified them, right? They've self-admitted they have a problem and they need help with it. But two, you financially qualified because you asked about their current situation. So this is the moment where you get them to book the next step. Now, this is where you could go one of two ways. So option number one is you could sell directly to them in the DMs. I don't want to say that's wrong or bad. It's just not the way that I like to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I've made $30,000 plus deals straight up in the DMs. The reason why I like to book people onto a call is for a few reasons. First of all, I'm a people person. I really like to actually sit down with somebody and understand their problem and give them real value and a real solution. Number two, you have their undivided attention. What's gonna happen when you price drop and then they have to go pick up their kids? Now they've entered what we call the zone of doubt. So the problem becomes that they start sitting on links, they ghost you, right? And they're not actually super serious. Now, if you book them onto a sales call, this is where you're actually giving them the decoy offer. And once again, if you haven't watched some of my other videos, you have to check them out after this one because I talk all about how the sales call is a decoy offer and not an interrogation. So what you want to make sure is that you book them onto a sales call to actually go deeper and audit their business. And what's fantastic here is that your sales calls now become a layup, meaning you can actually get a ton of value from the DMs and use a sales call to just dig a little bit deeper and go straight into the audit. When the DMs are done right, my sales calls, my team sales calls should literally be 15 to 20 minutes going over their situation and the pitch. And the rest of it should be onboarding, objection handling, and just talking about how to make the finances work. Because the truth is you already did most of it and you have to make sure it's a continuation of the process. So in a perfect world, it would be great if everybody's financially qualified and they book a sales call, yada, yada, yada. And that's fantastic. And we have all the steps for that in the DM to sale playbook. So if you haven't checked that out in the description, go ahead and check that out now. But what happens if they're actually not ready? This is where you want to hit them with value-driven follow-up. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, and it's actually insane to me because this is one of the most high-value things you could do as a salesperson in this current landscape. So the key is to have really clean tagging and understand who needs to be followed up with. Now, we use ManyChat as a CRM, but you could literally just write people's names down in your notes app on your phone or on a sticky note. It does not have to be complex, but you have to then get a next step. So for example, let's say I talked with someone today named Fanny. Fanny said to me, "This is amazing and I love this, but I'm just not ready yet." So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna hit her with value-driven follow-up based on what I'm currently and actively running. So for example, right, if I'm doing a webinar in a week from now, I'm gonna say, "Okay, Fanny, no stress at all. I totally understand now is not the right timing. I'm gonna do a webinar next week. Should I send you that link over so you could sign up? It's totally free and we could just go a little bit deeper and get you to where you wanna go." You wanna tie it specifically to what they said. Now they're gonna say, absolutely, right? Because it's way low pressure. The likelihood of this person converting is significantly higher because usually when they say not now, if it's not some personal constraint they have in their life, it's usually just fear or they don't really know you yet or they haven't gotten to know your process and they're just a little bit colder. So what you want to do is you want to invite them now to a free class. You want to send them a freebie, but that's not where it ends. Now you need to follow up with them after that thing. So after the webinar, Fanny's the first person I'm gonna call up and I'm gonna say, Fanny, what'd you think? What's one thing you learned after this webinar? And if it's just let's say Fanny gets my DM to sale playbook, right? I'm gonna shoot her a DM and be like, okay, so when are you gonna read this? When can I follow up with you? You have to hold people accountable. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, because it's like, to me, this is so high value and high touch. Why would somebody not want to pay you $5,000 after this whole experience, So this same way, consumers are really gravitating more towards experiences in this new age of an overwhelming amount of information. You have to ask yourself, where does my business stand out and differentiate? And if you really want to make good, ethical, high quality, high ticket sales, you got to put in a little bit of work. I just pulled up a DM this morning when somebody said to me, how did you even remember me? I love this follow-up process. I love that you're setting me up for our call tomorrow. Once again, I have a B2B offer, so of course these people are a little bit more business oriented, but every niche is like this. Because here's the thing, the best salespeople in the world understand the statistics. People close after the 7th to 8th attempt, not on the 1st or the 2nd. So keep following up and keep sending massive value, because once they're ready to buy, you become their next obvious choice. So this video gave you the exact framework that you need to follow, but if you're like me, you like to take action after a video like this. So go ahead and check the first link in the description, where I'm gonna send you the exact DM to sales playbook so that you could put these scripts into practice this week. And better yet, if you wanna actually have a business audit with me or my team, go ahead and click the link in the description and apply for one. Now, this is for serious business owners that actually want to scale to $250K a year and beyond, with a straight line path to how your business can get to $1 million a year with organic social media content. Go ahead and check that out. And finally, if you want to learn the exact Instagram strategy that has made me millions of dollars by being able to get upwards of 7,000 leads into my DMs on a monthly basis, go ahead and watch this video next, and I'll see you in the next one.